Child, Alyssa Cole's When No One Is Watching had me all the way in my feelings, and I cannot wait to talk to you about it. Let's go. Welcome back to Books with Kimberly. I miss y'all. Not that I have gone away. It's just I've been doing a lot of NaNoWriMo talk. And so I am ready to talk about books again. Like books that have been written and published and are out there for us to enjoy. I miss doing book reviews so much. So I'm so excited that I have read a book that has me just ready to talk to all of you about. Today's book review is on When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. I will start off by saying this book had me all in my feelings, as I said at the beginning. It really did. I had to go to these other booktubers to kind of get a feel of how they accepted this book, and so to kind of confirm or deny some of the feelings that I was having. Let's get into what this book is about. The main character of this book is Sydney Green. Sydney lives in Brooklyn, New York. What gives it its thriller vibe is really the gentrification that is going on. The whole time you're trying to figure out what is happening that is driving all of these people who said they would never sell, because that's the whole thing. They're saying, I love Brooklyn, I would never sell my home, and all of a sudden they're leaving. You know, some people are leaving because of bed bugs. One person, the police came and found drugs in their home, and so they were freaked out because they're like, my son doesn't do drugs. Where'd these drugs come from? They sold their home, and they're all selling their home to this company. This company has been walking around. They've been trying to get Sydney and her mom to sell their brownstone. So it's just, this neighborhood is quickly turning white. Like, there are so many white neighbors. Sydney's next door neighbors are a white family, and across the street a new couple has moved in, Theo and Kim. I hate that she has my name, y'all, because Kim is a straight up Karen. So this book is told from two perspectives. It goes back and forth from Sydney and Theo. From Theo's perspective, him and his girlfriend Kim are they're at the end of their road. They invested in this house together, and through his perspective we get to hear some of the things that the other white neighbors are feeling about the neighborhood. And we also get this perspective through these text feeds that each chapter has at the beginning from the Our Hood app. It's an app where all the residents of this block, they come together and they, you know, text about things. And y'all, it's a really good book. I really was interested in why were people okay, well, let me be honest with you. For the first 15 chapters, I really did not know what I was on the edge of my seat about. There were some breadcrumbs. Alyssa Cole in this book, she does give you breadcrumbs of strange happenings that kept me wanting to read more and find out, okay, now what is this book really about? But for a lot of the chapters, I felt like it was just Sydney and Theo staring at each other from across the street, and you know, them doing their little history thing, trying to figure out, you know, the history of Brooklyn so she could put together this tour. And there was also a lot of just dialogue from white people that I did not care for. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that I gave this book 4 stars, but it was very hard for me to give this book 4 stars because there was a point at chapter 15 where I was ready to give this book a 1 star. And I'm gonna go into what that was about. What that was about for me is, while reading this book, and you have these new white neighbors, you have the white realtor, you have Theo and his girlfriend, who I told y'all Kim is a straight up Karen. So through these white people, every time they come on the scene, they were saying something racist. And as a black person, that was very uncomfortable for me to read. I wish that there was a trigger warning. If you are a black person or a person of color, this book is going to trigger you because there is a lot of racist remarks. No one was called the N-word. It was a lot of microaggressions, but I feel like the comments that Alyssa Cole had her white character saying were comments that I felt like they cut a little bit deeper. it was things like in the Our Hood app, somebody was like, y'all watch out, there have been some hoodlums on bikes riding around casing the place. And one of the black neighbors was like, that's my son and his friends. All they're doing is riding their bikes, getting exercise, having fun. So it's like, that took me to like, wow, you can't even be yourself in your own neighborhood. Like, your kids can't even play no more without these white people seeing your kids and thinking your kids are casing a place to steal. And it was just a lot of comments like this. There was another character that made a comment like, I never really looked at black people before. Like, I've never considered black people. And I was just like, what does that mean? But you know, I ignored it. And then a few more chapters later, that comment came up again, and it was further explained that this person, their view of black people is what the media shows them, what they've seen on the news, which is black people, they steal, they do drugs, they always in jail, they're poor, all the negative things about black people. Just that somebody could say something like that completely angered me, y'all. Like, I think that was the moment where I'm like, I'm giving this book a 1, because like, how could somebody say a comment like that? Like, you only, like, have you forgotten there was a whole black president and first lady and children and black politicians? You don't see black business professionals, you don't see black doctors and nurses and so much black excellence, and you don't see any of that. All you see is the negativity of the black community. Like, I don't know, that just really hurt me. And Brooklyn has a lot of black businesses. I was really upset with this book, and it wasn't just that comment. It was like every white person that came on the scene had little comments like that. You know, Sydney was in a bodega, and there was a scene, spoiler alert, there was a scene where the guy was like, if you're looking for 40s, we don't have 40s. So just because she black, she gotta want a 40 ounce, like. And then there was another comment that was like, you know, we don't take wig. So because she's black, you automatically assume that in order for her to buy something in this store, she gotta be on wig. Like, it was just blowing my mind. And I think I took this out on Alyssa Cole, and I took this out on the book, where I have to realize that authors are shining a light on what is going around in the world. So it really helped me listening to other people's reviews, because I wasn't supposed to take that and get mad at Alyssa Cole and like go give this book a horrible rating. I was supposed to really censor on that and be like, wow, this is the fear. This is what makes this book a thriller, is that this is what white people are thinking. These are what the people who are gentrifying this neighborhood feel about black people. And this is why Sydney has so much anxiety, why she's so scared, why she's trying to get to the bottom of what's going on in her neighborhood. Is because the people around her do not have her best interest at heart, and they think these negative things, and you don't know what they have planned and what they're trying to do, and that's scary. So a lot of people gave this book low stars and low ratings because they didn't feel like it was a thriller. But when I listened to other reviewers such as Bowties Books, they explain how thriller is all about the anxiety, the being on the edge of your seat, that fear. And Sydney was experiencing a lot of fear, having her neighborhood transform so quickly. Neighbors that she's known her whole life being pushed out, these white families popping up before everything can even be put out the house. I really appreciate this book because those comments are still in my head, and as much as I hate that, I think it's also good for me because I'm one of those people who I do ignore a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a black person. I know how white people feel about us. I know that there's racism in the world, so I don't constantly feed off of that. Every article that pops up about a Karen situation, I'm not clicking on it to read it because I don't need that in my spirit. So it was hard for me to have to listen and read all of those negative things that white people were saying about the black people in this community who are just trying to raise their family and live a good life. Like the neighborhood that's your home, like they just come in here and like, oh, I cannot wait until we clean this neighborhood up. And by cleaning the neighborhood up, they mean getting all the black people out so they can be a completely white neighborhood. I give it a 4. I'm not giving it a 5, and it's not based on me being triggered by the racist comments. I'm giving it a 5 just because I felt like more breadcrumbs needed to be laid in the book so that I kind of knew where Alyssa Cole was going. The first 15 chapters of the book, I was kind of like, where is she taking this? But the little breadcrumbs she was giving had me wanting to continue reading the book. But it wasn't until those last, because I think it's 27 chapters, those last 10 chapters, things sped up and it was a lot of actions, loose ends were tied up. The last part of the book, I give 5 stars. I was very, very pleased with the ending of this book, but I was still so much in my feelings that I couldn't appreciate the ending and how everything kind of made sense. And today I can give it a strong 4 stars, and I can recommend that all of you read it. And I want y'all to read this book so that we can talk about it. And even if you haven't read the book but you've read similar things to this, let me know. Are there some tips you have on how to read books that touch on these very real topics that can trigger us? So y'all get down in those comments and talk to me. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm happy to be back talking about books. I cannot wait for my next book review. So yes, y'all, stay tuned. Books with Kimberly.